Travis Wayne Goodsell, I have told you, no Mormons allowed for this video. Stay away, leave me alone. You are not interested in what I have to say because you do not believe what I have to say. So stay away, leave me alone. But there was a Mormon who thought he would defy that and come to my first video and attack. Again, you are not Christ-like for attacking people. You are not defending the church when you use hate. Hate is a crime. You do not have freedom of speech or action to commit hate. They are crimes. And so stay away, leave me alone. You're not interested. You don't believe. So you are not acting Christ-like as you claim you worship Jesus by attacking me. So just stay away. It's not complicated. Don't take away my agency. I won't let you. Alrighty. I've done the clips of the stellariums and we'll be posting them or adding them in this video. The first video segment is about the signs in the heavens in the latter days and how I identified them with the modern connections on Earth. The ancients ascribed anthropomorphism, I think that's what it's called, anthropomorphic characters, human characters or human characteristics to the planets, the sun and the moon, and the constellations. And so as they rotate around, as it appears, because the Earth is actually spinning, as the moon also is keeping step with us as we go around, keeping its face towards us and rotating as well every 29.4 days. Even the sun spins, which is interesting, but it also rotates around the Milky Way center. But the Earth primarily goes around the sun. But on Earth, it looks like everything is revolving around the Earth. And so they would observe the movements, and they knew astronomy far superiorly. They knew it all over the Earth. That's how incredible they were, because they knew that the total solar eclipse on their New Year's, which they had to design their calendar system for religion specifically so that it would correspond in the future on the New Year's when the total solar eclipse would occur. That's how skilled and expert they were in their knowledge of astronomy. And to know that it was going to occur over the United States of America on the 21st of August 2017, which was also President Monson's birthday. And so understanding the earthly representations of the prophecies, the scientific predictions of the ancients, as they would tell the stories about what's going to happen on Earth. That a battle for government and for religion, as the corrupt government and religion of the United States of America, and we're not a theocracy. It means the two organizations, government and religion. And so which religion in America? You have to understand that one as well. And so identification becomes crucial with interpretation. You can't just throw out interpretation and say, oh, I want it to be the Catholic Church as the religion, for example. Well, where is the center of the Catholic Church? Nowhere in America. And so the Catholic Church is not the fulfillment of these latter-day signs. So anybody that tries to tell you that the Catholic Church has the false prophet that John in Revelation talks about, or that he's the son of perdition that sits on the throne of the religion, no. Because that's not what the signs are telling us. The sign occurred over America. It is the religion in America that was founded in America that has its capital in America. So that limits the number of churches. So it's not the Jewish church. This is not the religion of the Jews either, as people have believed because of the wording of the prophecies that the Jewish temple is going to be destroyed. Well, there is no Jewish temple. They've never built it. Well, there's an Islamic mosque, but nobody's claiming that Islam's going to fall in Jerusalem. So again, you can't just throw out whatever you want to believe, because even though the New Testament says all Jerusalem, 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 the prophecies come from Egypt. And I've told you, Matthew altered his story to justify being born in Bethlehem on earth rather than the sign of Bethlehem in the Virgin constellation. But then says that Matthew screws it all up, because he then says in 24 that he's this Son of Man, as Jesus is speaking, is going to be in the future. But he already told us that the sign occurred for the birth of this Jesus character of the gospel. So he screwed the whole sign up that Isaiah is prophesying about. But John the Revelator makes it clear of the specific day in the future, with the additional information that he provides, with the moon at the feet of the woman, and the addition of 3 stars, planets, on her head. And so the tangent, lost my train of thought. And so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as I showed through the video, corresponded with the signs. As Monson dies during the sign that John in Revelation is talking about the stars of the heaven falling from the tail of the dragon. That's when Monson died. And Mars is at the top of the scale of judgment, meaning he is now the judge. As Monson dies, Nelson automatically takes over according to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That doesn't make them the good church. That just identifies Mars as President Russell M. Nelson. And so the church, therefore, is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So Venus, as the members of Lucifer's church, because Venus corresponds with Lucifer, as Isaiah identifies it specifically. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? That's Venus. And so Lucifer is male, but his followers are considered female as part of his church. So this is the great and abominable church that the Book of Mormon talks about. It is Babylon that Joseph Smith talks about when he says that Mormons are violating their temple covenants, their marriage covenants specifically. As he then says that Mormons are doing their own thing. They're creating their own gods by doing their own thing. In Doctrine and Covenants, section 1, verse 16. And that's where he says, Babylon shall fall. Well, Babylon already fell, So we know that that's part of the encoding that was in the Doctrine and Covenants before 1981, when the church service missionaries tried to fix or decode the Doctrine and Covenants, and they missed that one. And for good reason. It's the Mormon Church, because you can't break your temple sealing if you're never sealed in the first place. And so that's Mormons that Joseph is talking about. Joseph constantly condemns the future Mormons for being wicked. And I've gone over the Doctrine and Covenants scriptures that should have been scriptures but were not put in by Brigham Young, where Joseph Smith condemns the missionary 12 with Brigham Young, specifically condemning him. Do you think Brigham Young took that well? No, he didn't. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith was murdered and failed to fulfill what they believed was the prophecy of him being the Messiah, the Christ, the man who was going to come and save the Jews and establish Zion and New Jerusalem with restoring the kingdom of David. And so that's a future time. And he knew this also, because he realized, as you read his sermons, that he's talking about a future person. In Doctrine and Covenants 103, he says, a man like Moses shall restore Zion and be like Moses with the Exodus. And it goes on to say Joseph Smith is that man, but he still dies. And so the shall no longer applies to Joseph. It's somebody who is a Mormon, as he says there in the chapter or section, is to eventually come up and replace Joseph Smith, just as Horus replaces his father as the restoring Pharaoh, conquering his usurping brother Set. And thus Brigham Young becomes the usurping brother, as Mormons call each other brother and sister. And so that's what you're looking for. This is what I've been trying to allude to. And I try to tell people who have figured it out that until it's fulfilled, it is not fulfilled. It must be fulfilled. That's where Joseph Smith went wrong, as he was set up in place to be the guy, but then he failed. He was murdered, and so he was not the guy. He ends up being a symbol of Jesus Christ as a result, or Osiris. And so, yeah, the Jews aren't looking for Joseph Smith. They're looking for someone else still. And he has to be a man. And he has to fulfill each and every single prophecy. Joseph Smith didn't even do that either, because he's supposed to be born in specific places. And Joseph Smith was not born in the specific places according to prophecy. So Joseph Smith was not the prophesied person. But they at least got it going to set it in motion. And their Knights Templar background, as I mentioned, is the reason why they had this understanding and why they tried to set up Joseph Smith as this person, because they knew the Knights Templar were purposely setting up America to be this place, as the signs in the heavens that they knew of were going to take place in America. But then the enemy found out about it, and then they're now using it to destroy America rather than to establish the new kingdom. 9/11, I need to make sure I get this in, I don't want to forget. is also a significant date, not just for Poppy Bush, when he was a CIA agent and was assigned to go down to Chile and do a coup d'etat of the government there on 9/11, as his son's controversial election, which was decided in this Florida Supreme Court, where his brother Bush was governor of Florida, who was the one who ordered the lawsuit. And then, of course, there's the Twin Towers. And then there's this controversy of another brother Bush who was involved in security. But all the records now indicate that he stopped being security for the trade towers a year before. Why? Why a year before? What happened? There's this guy who did a movie called 9/11 who says that he was actually security during 9/11. Are we sure he quit a year before? Were the documents scrubbed and altered? Who was security then, if it wasn't that other Bush brother? There is nobody who was security? The trade towers had no security for that whole year up until 9/11. Are you sure? Exactly. So, everybody tried to claim that 9/11 was caused in retaliation for the 9/11 coup d'etat in Chile. 9/11 also has significance with the Mormon Church. Mountain Meadows Massacre on 9/11. That's where Brigham Young ordered the bishop to slaughter the settlers who were passing by. Men, women, children, families, slaughtered by the bishop. And the church covered it up. Brigham Young denied it and wrote a letter claiming, "Oh, don't do it, don't touch them," as if he was able to know they were passing by. Are you? Yeah, but it was dated for the 13th, I believe, rather than the 11th. And so the church finally confessed not too many years ago that the bishop was responsible for it. They still refuse to implicate Brigham Young as being the one responsible giving the orders to the bishop. The bishop, by the way, was a Danite, and so yes, he was in on everything that Brigham Young was organizing and doing. So no, he was not innocent, he was not rogue. Neither was Brigham Young. But I highly doubt that the church has permanently excommunicated that bishop. What do you bet? If the church condemns him publicly to get people off their backs, do you think the church also went so far as to have him permanently excommunicated and denied exaltation for all eternity? Or is he still got his temple endowment marked on his records? Only the family has access, and the church, but I'm willing to bet they didn't. So 9/11. And so here we have another 9/11 with a Jewish holy day, a day of remembrance for the destruction of the Jewish Jerusalem temple, claimed to be the Temple of Solomon. As I've told you, Jerusalem means peace. Salem and that's what it used to be called, was Salem. And so Hebrew scholars, rabbis, aren't quite sure what Jeru means. Their best guess is New, so New Jerusalem. And so the Solomon temple that was built that was destroyed by Babylon was the first Salem temple, although it was called Jerusalem at that time. But then it was rebuilt, and thus would be the new Temple of Solomon under the New Jerusalem. But then the Romans destroyed it, both on the same day, 9/11. And like I said, Jews switch month and day around. Day comes first, then month. And so it is still 9/11. It's just not the 9/11 that we English call it. And so the connection to Mormons is Mountain Meadows Massacre. As Mormons, like the Jews in both temple destructions, are wicked. Joseph Smith prophesies Mormons will be wicked, and they will be destroyed. And a setting in order of the temple in section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants, verse 7, talking about the one mighty and strong to set in order the temple. You can't set in order the temple if the temple was already established and is still good. So Joseph Smith knew that the temple would be corrupted. Whoops, not 103, 85. So I, the Lord God, will send one mighty and strong, holding the scepter of power, that's government, to set in order the house of God, that's the temple. You don't set in order the house of the temple, you don't set that in order if it hadn't been apostatized, corrupted, fallen. And interestingly, fallen, which is referring to apostasy, is what Lucifer did in the Mormon theology of the premortal existence. He fell from heaven, as Isaiah says, which is copied over into the Book of Mormon. And thus the star, symbolizing a fallen person, a religious person, is the inverted pentagram. And it's been that way since Isaiah, with the Latin Vulgate version, which included it. And so the claims to the inverted pentagram as the keystone in the archway of the door of the Salt Lake Temple holds no water when you try to claim that it's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ did not fall. That's blasphemous doctrine. That's blasphemous theology. That is completely contrary to the teachings of Joseph Smith and true Mormonism. Jesus Christ conquered Lucifer, but it's just not the Jesus Christ of the Gospels. It's Amen, son Amen, that I've been telling you about. It's a man who would be born. He's already born. This is the 50th year. This is the Jubilee year, where the prisoners go free. That's prophesied also. And so, this is why Mormons can't watch this video. They will not like it, that they are being called wicked, that their church will end, will be conquered, will be destroyed. But they just do not understand. Wickedness cannot continue. It eventually collapses. You have to be good. And Mormons don't understand that. They think that by virtue of being Mormon, they are automatically good. And that is not the case. Nowhere is that ever supported in Scripture as a doctrinal principle. Office does not guarantee righteousness. You are supposed to obtain the office by being righteous. But you got to maintain righteousness in order to keep it. That's section 121 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Though it may be conferred upon us, it is true, but when we undertake to cover our sins, gratify our pride, our vain ambitions, amen to the authority. And have I done? I may have. I was supposed to do a segment to lead into the first video, and then do another segment to tie into the other video. I think I blew it because I didn't do them in order. I did the starved one before I ran. Yeah, I think we'll stop here, because I was trying to think, should I now go into the discussion of the lawsuit? And then I thought, wait a minute, haven't put in the other videos. So yeah, let's end here, and then I'm not going to try to cut and splice this where I should have stopped it, and then try to cut and paste. So yeah, let's put in the video of the stars in the heavens for the last days, and then yeah, I just go right through with the other videos for the last days connected to it, and then I'll do another video at the end. To sum it all up with the lawsuit. Because I think I've already revealed some of it, didn't I? Alright, Travis Wing Goodsell. I hope the volume is working for me so that you can hear me despite the air conditioning units by the desk here. So this is my Stellarium program, stellarium.org. You can download your own copy to your computer device if you've got an upgraded model that can handle the 64 or 32 gigabytes. These are the ones that I select on a regular basis as I do searching. This is the Julian calendar, and you can switch it as such. This is the regular Gregorian from Pope Gregory. To start with, you have to know the different interpretations that the authors are using in their text, whether that's the original Egyptian origin understandings of the interpretations of the constellations and the planets, or the Roman period, if you're referring to John in Revelations. We're going to start by showing you 4 AD, April 8th. And we need to get to noon. You can see here that the moon is closely connected to the sun, as it's near the moon age. Won't allow me to highlight, so you'll just have to hope that the cursor is being shown here on the screen. 1.4 days, so it's a new moon. That's why it's close to the sun. You'll notice that it's in Aries. So if you remember your Bible story of Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac, you have Mercury, who is the messenger god. And so yes, there is a messenger translated as an angel appearing to Abraham saying, stop, don't do it. And then you have Aries is the ram that comes and interferes. Uranus is not a visible planet. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are the 5 visible planets. So they would not have known about Uranus anciently. To see it as a total solar eclipse, you would need to go to St. Petersburg, I think, is the closest one that I know of without checking the map. Okay, so is it under SA? St. Petersburg. There we go. And as you can see, in the evening, you need to get back into the afternoon. So there you see, as we're going back in time, is starting to cover over the sun. There it is. Total solar eclipse. It's not exact because St. Petersburg is slightly, let's see, it would be over the location. Is that right? I can't remember if it was over or under. Can't remember. I think the moon was below as the partial sun was on top here in Utah during the 21st of August 2018. So this would be below St. Petersburg. But yeah, you can tell that there was a total solar eclipse in the Russian region on this date by how close this is from the city location. And so this is the literal fulfillment of the biblical prophecy from the story in the Torah of Abraham sacrificing Isaac. This is what they're referring to. This is why the story was told as it was, as the ram takes the place of Isaac being sacrificed, as the total solar eclipse means the death of the king or the kingdom. Alrighty, so now let's go to, whoops, we don't want the second, we want September is 9, pull back, and, oh, that's the year. What am I doing? We need 1827 and 9 and 23rd, which is the day following, is the night of, this is the 22nd, and then we can go into, well, it's going to mess me over when I do this, so let's type in New York, Buffalo. Here's Batavia. That's the Batavia Press that was involved, so that's close to Palmyra. So yeah, it shows the morning time. So we need to get to the evening. Whoop. So yeah, you'll see the moon as this is in our noon sky, and so it can't be seen because the sun is too bright, covering everything up. But the moon, you can see, is nearing, and it's a crescent moon here. It's only 1.6 days old after being with the sun. It's nearing Spica. Spica is Bethlehem. You'll see the grain of wheat that Virgo is holding. This is the womb area where babies emerge from, as Jupiter is leaving the womb after a pregnancy period of time, retrograding in the womb of Virgo. And early in the morning, you'll see the 3 planets supposed to be on the crown, and this is where they mess up. Is that Mercury and Venus at the head of Virgo. They're not on her crown with Mars. So there's only 10, not 12 stars on her crown. But referred to Revelation chapter 12. So this is what happened. This is what was shown. And we go here to the 23rd, which shows that overnight, this is how they saw the sign in the heavens. Is they thought that the moon being at the feet was the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 12. And thus, as I said, is why they established Joseph Smith Jr. to be the Christ for the latter days, the Messiah to fulfill prophecy. And that's why he learned Hebrew and Egyptian. That's also part of the prophecy of Ezekiel 37. So let's now go to the future. 2016. We can't show you lunar eclipses because he doesn't have the Earth on here, and so you can't see the covering up like I showed you for the solar eclipse. We want to get to November, and okay, we're on the moon already, so pay attention to when we have full moon. Yeah, you can see full moon if your screen is big enough, or if you zoom in, you can see moon age right here at the top of this. Moon age, 14.8 days old, full moon. And so full moon, it's completely opposite, 6 constellations away from where the sun is, as the sun is being judged on the scale of Libra. Jupiter has now entered the womb of Virgo. The sun is having sex with Virgo and producing the child Jupiter. That's what it means. And so, yeah, the sun is in Libra, conceiving Jupiter in the womb of Virgo. you'll see Mercury. It's right here at the base of Libra. It's right next to this star right here, but this star, Akrab, that's Arabic for crab, as the Scorpius is the crab constellation. This star, for Arabs, symbolizes the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so Mercury is judged and is at the tree of knowledge of good and evil, partaking of it all by himself without the sun there to confirm that he had done it right. And so he is not approved. He is fallen. However, if you recall, there was an election that had previously occurred on the 7th, and then the 8th was the decision, I believe. Did you see where Mercury is? He's being judged now. And at the top of the scales of Libra is the sun. This is representing government. So a judgment of a government leader who is Mercury. This was the presidential election in the United States of America on November 8th, 2016. Even November 7th, as the sun is more on top here. This is direct sign in the heaven showing the reason for the conception of Jupiter. As I've been saying, there is no need for a restoring king, a restoring high priest, if the government and the religion were good and just. So what this shows us is that the stars in the heavens are telling us that the selection of the President of the United States is the wrong candidate. He's the guy that needs to be replaced by Jupiter. And so the puppet King Zedekiah symbol has been placed on the throne of America. And we can confirm that this is Trump by following Mercury's movements through the sky at the various locations. Here, for example, Mercury is now at the knee of Ophiuchus. Every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is the Christ. And so you see the sun here is at the crab thing. Missed the, let's see, on the, looks like the 24th of November. Isn't that around Thanksgiving? When was Thanksgiving that year? Was it the 29th or 24th? See, I don't think it's the 29th. Maybe 27th at the mall. I don't know. I can't check the internet while I'm on this program because I have to exit out of the program. And hopefully I'm not going to be shut down on this program so that I'm talking in vain. And so, yeah, Jupiter is going to continue to retrograde back and forth in Virgo's womb. Whoa, what are you doing? Alrighty. And so we're now going to jump into the future. Into the future. This is when I first identified the character of Mars as the religious leader. We need to go back on the 10th. And again, I can't show you because lunar eclipses, just go forward to the afternoon, are 6 constellations away from the sun. So here's Mars. Venus is already identified as Mormons, members of the church, though I did not recognize it at the time because it's also could be the wife of Mars as well. He's in Pisces, the water symbol. February 10th, 2017, there was a partial lunar eclipse, as well as a flood in Elko, Nevada. And during this time, in fact, probably at this exact time, 1 in the afternoon, I'm not sure when he would have given his Family Discovery Day lecture. Could have been Friday night, but he was involved in that weekend with Family Discovery Day in Salt Lake City, which was the only place that didn't get affected by the flooding that occurred, as Elko, Nevada was the first to record the flooding, and then it spread all around Salt Lake City. So again, go back to Revelation 12 and go to near the end of the chapter where it talks about flooding from the mouth of the dragon. And so this was my first clue that this was President Nelson. He was the brand new president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles at this time. And so I was wondering, is this him? Alrighty. You'll see Mercury is at the front of Copernicus, which is the goat beast. It's half goat, half fish. Alrighty. In fact, if we go back in time, right around February 8th, Mercury is at the mouth of the goat beast. I wonder if Trump has said anything during this time period that would lead people to wonder, or if he enacted something that would lead people to wonder about his presidency. That's a rhetorical question, of course. Alrighty, now we jump ahead to August 21st. So you can already see the moon is getting into the sun area, but oh yeah, we're in New York, that's why it's so close. So where we need to go is Missouri. There's Independence, Missouri. And there's the eclipse. And we need to go ahead a few minutes. And voila! There it is. You'll see Regulus, sorry. That's the King star. So at the King star is the total solar eclipse. And we have Mars, who's a part of this conjunction sign. And then we have Mercury also. So both the government and the religious leaders are involved with the sign of the collapse of America, as the King Star is the location for this eclipse in the constellation of Leo, which is the crown of Virgo. So this helped confirm the identity of Mars, as I still needed to have Monson die off, remember? In order for Nelson to be the prophet of whom John the Revelator talks of, being the false prophet, and Mercury as Trump, being the beast, it was pretty much confirmed with Trump, as he was making it obvious that he was the beast with everything he had done. Charlottesville, I believe, had already occurred by this time, so well known and understood. So now we go 1 month into the future from the past, and we go to the 23rd. Do you remember? And so there we have the moon at her feet, clothed with the sun. Jupiter has passed Spica, Bethlehem, and has now been born, coming through after a period of almost, I think, around 10 months. This was a elongated pregnancy. And now you have it correctly. Mercury, Mars, Venus lined up in Regulus at the crown above Virgo's head. This is the fulfillment of the sign. This is the sign of the Son of Man that Matthew 24 refers to. This is Isaiah's prophecy of the sign of the birth. He gave the conception, which we already showed you. This is now the birth. So Isaiah has now been fulfilled on this day. John the Revelator gave us the specific details of the 3 additional planets on her crown. And so if you remember, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints lost 3 apostles during the Tetrad blood moon back in 2014-2015. So 3 additional apostles were needed to be added to the 9 that were there left in the quorum. All symbolic. And also the women's organization, the Relief Society, was for the first time a part of General Conference. This was their woman's session, and it was included in the general session of conference for October. The Relief Society president, the woman, was newly replaced in April, so this was her very first general conference, Women's Relief Society Conference, as Relief Society president, and she was selected from the president of the primary. So, child to woman, virgin to woman. Alrighty, then we jump ahead to December. Here we have Ophiuchus, which is the throne of God symbol. We have the knee of Ophiuchus. And we've got a bunch of stars all gathered. We have Jupiter, who has now entered into Libra and is at the top of Libra. He is now the judge. Whereas the election, the sun was the judge, referring to government. This is Jupiter. He is now the judge. But if you go back to Revelation 12, let's see, we need to go to the 17th. This is the 5th dark day of Hanukkah, the holiday of the Jews, holy day from the Apocrypha, talking about the Maccabean revolt to take back the Jerusalem temple from the Greeks and established the Festival of Lights from I think it was 8 days, but sometimes it's 7, or is it always 8? I think it's always 8. I think Passover is the one that is sometimes 7, sometimes 8. So here we have the moon, and it's 29 days old, and so yeah, it's a new moon, and if I were to go to where, I guess I'm going to be up. Whoop. No, that was regal. Alright, well anyway. Somewhere in that time frame, I'd have to adjust the minutes. Most likely. It should be 29.4. Isn't it? So it looks like I should have gone by minutes. Wasting too much time trying to find the new moon for you. Alright, whatever. Let's get back to the sign. So you have moon, you have Mercury, you have Venus, you have the Sun, and you have Saturn. 5 celestial bodies at the tail of serpents. Serpents. And Corona Borealis is on the serpents, just as John describes, but the tail only has a limited number of stars designating it, requiring to have the additional 5 roaming planets, celestial bodies, to add to it. And the new moon corresponds with the dark day of Hanukkah, the sign of the dragon. The dragon in this case being serpents, rather than Draco the dragon. And here you have Jupiter is now the judge. Mars is getting close behind. It's because Mars is about to take over the leadership at the top of Libra. And so let's slowly go ahead to show you. Right there, on the 2nd of January 2018, Mars is now at the top of Libra as the judge. And as the religious leader, he would be the judge over the church. And what happened on this day, which technically occurred at 9:10, and then 10:02, or was it 10:01? And let's go back. Where is Draco? There you are. There's Draco the Dragon. Come on. It's not allowing me to show the quadranted meteor showers. Why is that? Alright, so you can see quadrantids at the tail of Draco the Dragon. On the evening of the 2nd of January 2018 at 10:01, 10:02 p.m. when Nelson takes over the judgment seat for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah, Thomas S. Monson dies. Alrighty. Get everything back. Okay. And so there's the signs from Revelation chapter 12. Then Father's Day. I won't, yeah, no. This is how we confirm, by the way. But as you can see, everything is going according to plans here. 2020, Father's Day was June. What was Father's Day? Was it 21st? 21st. Okay. And then we need to go to Iraq. Which Baghdad. That's the closest to Ur of Babylon. And need to go. No. Today. Where's the sun? Where's the moon? There's the moon over here. Oh, right, because we're now on the 22nd. So there's the moon. And we need to go into the morning. Because it was right around 9. Get it centered so that we can see it. So this would be rising because the east would be below us. You can see that it's partial eclipse because this was a total, no, it was an annular eclipse, and so where it was showing, it would be a ring of fire rather than the glowing that you saw on August 21st and back on 4 AD. This is what was seen over the whole old world from Africa to Asia, was this eclipse that occurred on Father's Day. Okay. lined up again. And then we'll go to 2024 and go back to April. So the sun is in Pisces, and we need to go to the 8th. And so there you see the moon. But we need to go back to America. Coming to America. Promises. Illinois. And not Batavia this time. In Illinois. Which one was it? Was it Freeport? Or Harvey? I'm trying to remember which city covers it the most. Whoops. No, we want the 8th. So there it is. To America. Okay, so it's not Freeport. And it's not Harvey. Jacksonville. No. LaGrange. No. Lansing Lockport. Oh, Marion. That's it. See, there you go. There's the eclipse. And so you have Venus in conjunction with the eclipse in constellation of Pisces, as Jupiter is in Aries, which was the sacrificial lamb. But the eclipse is not in Aries. And so I'm not quite sure yet of this interpretation, as we've got to go back to make sure that we keep the glowing of the sun here. This is the crossover between August, when it was so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 constellations away. So it's half of the zodiac, so half of the sky. Actually 7 with Leo. But yeah. So half crossing the United States, half of the zodiacs. Why is, oh, so we need the 8th. So, there you go. There's the future. And over southern Illinois, that's the crossroads in America. And notice that Mercury and Mars have no place in this symbol. Venus is associated with it. See, Mars is being cleansed by the priest constellation of Aquarius. Let's see if we can find Mercury. Where is Mercury? So we got Saturn and Mars. Where's Mercury? Let's see. I'm not seeing it. Is Mercury destroyed? Is this predicting that Mercury is swallowed up in the sun? There's Uranus with Jupiter. Well, that's interesting. Oh, there's Mercury. It is there. Mercury. Alright, let's go back to... it's swallowed up with the sun. Oh, interesting. Wow. Mercury and Venus now are on opposite ends of the eclipse. That is interesting. Wow. Yeah, wow. The destruction of America is complete at this point, and Mars is replaced by Venus. And so as the church collapses with the new leader, the new leader, Mars, he's being cleansed during this process. As the collapse of the government is complete, and Venus is part of the destruction now, as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is destroyed, and the leadership being cleansed as the new leader, Jupiter, takes over, and also is the King of Kings that John talks about as the man-child who rules with an iron rod, as Isaiah says the government is upon his shoulders. And Joseph Smith says he is a man like Moses, and he is one mighty and strong, scepter of power, as well as setting in order the temple of God. Alrighty, well, very interesting. Alrighty, that's it. I gotta go running anyway. Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell. I'm back from my run. We're now going to show you the signs in the heaven for the event this Thursday, the anniversary, the Remembrance Day of the destruction of the two temples on Tisha B'Av. You'll notice that Jupiter and Saturn had set. I gotta get rid of the other stuff too if I'm gonna. But yeah, these guys have now set at 5 in the morning as we are entering twilight. They're still shown in West Valley City because the horizon is a created horizon and is not the exact horizon of West Valley City. So yes, I was still able to see Jupiter and Saturn as they are setting. But the sun is rising. If we were to go back, it is up here in the upper left, right there in the Crab constellation of Cancer. This is now rising in the east. So you have the east here, northeast here by Pollux. I didn't check to see if you could see the when I was checking the other video to make sure it recorded. But yeah, this is this morning, 26th of July at almost 5 o'clock in the morning here in West Valley City. And so tomorrow is an interesting sign as we need to, let's see, I think going back in time, yeah. So notice the moon on Saturday in the evening, it's 8 o'clock in the evening, is in the belly of the woman. This is conception of religion within the church, represented as Virgo, the woman, which technically is a virgin, but of course if she's giving birth to a baby, she's now a woman. That's how it was understood anciently. And so a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, meaning that this is a woman who's having her firstborn son. That's what it's referring to. This is the birthright blessing son, the firstborn. Alright, so we follow it. On today, the moon has been born of the woman. And so the question is, well, what is it being born for? The moon in and of itself is just a religion indicator, that religious symbolism is involved here. So now we need to go forward to see what the interpretation is of religion being born. Whoops. Alright. So we'll go to tomorrow. There it is at the top of Libra. It is now the judge. It is a newborn baby, and on its second day after birth, it is judging. So there is a judgment in regards to a religious matter that is taking place. The scales of judgment, if we put it in a modern context, it refers to a legal dispute, a court case. And so, yes, I will be talking about a court case involving the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I've already shown is directly involved with the signs in the heavens for the latter days. And so this is Monday. This is a first quarter moon even. And yeah, it doesn't say first quarter, but it's 8 days. So 4 into 27 is 8, right? 16, no, 32 actually. 3 is 27. That's by 8 fours. Anyway, still trying to wake up. So let's go ahead and see what we have. As we can see into the future, we have He's the one we've identified as John's Revelation 12 fulfillment of the man-child, who is to take over the throne and the seat of religious authority, since it's now separated in our day and time. Anciently, it was combined in a theocratic government, both government and religion combined into one leader. But in our day, especially here in America, they are separated. The President of the United States is only for government, even though our current president claimed he was the chosen one. And so we can see that in a future time, the moon that is growing, this is the first quarter moon right here, tomorrow on Monday, it is growing and will be growing as it nears Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn I've already identified, and I'll tell you now, because that has to do with the legal contention, debate, case, of which the moon is now stepping in to be the judge. Remember, the moon is the left eye of Horus, representing religion, and is represented by Thoth, the Egyptian god, who is phonetically the same as David. And so Pharaoh David, the theocratic government, was part of the 18th dynasty, as they were restoring the government of Thoth. That's why Moses was the first pharaoh of the 18th dynasty. The moon god, represented by Thoth, David, and thus future pharaohs of the same family dynasty were called David Moses, Tawut Moshe. And so this is the religion that is involved here. And yes, Yah is the Hebrew God as well. And thus the reason why I'm calling this the Mormon Jewish 9/11. Because it's not the Jewish temple that is going to be destroyed, whether it's a literal destruction of the temple or a destruction of the church that has the temple. And I can guarantee you, if the church loses, as is prophesied, the temple will be destroyed by the winning party, because it has the symbol of hate as the keystone on the ark of the door of the Salt Lake Temple. Alrighty, and so let's go ahead into the future. The 30th, which is Thursday, is 9/11 for the Jewish calendar. Oh. And here is the 30th. Notice it's at the knee. Let's go back, forward in time. It's at the knee of the throne of God. But it's growing. It's now 11.3 days old at 11:05 in the evening, as it's right there by the knee. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. It was at... Alright, trying to click on this, while it was over on the right side, shut off the video. So remember, the moon is the judge. It had been born of the woman, and it then became the judge tomorrow, on Monday, and then on the 30th, which is the day of Tisha B'Av. It is by the knee. I can blow it up. The knee throne of God of Ophiuchus, who battles the serpent. Notice that? And conquers the serpent. as during the battle he has his Achilles heel bitten or clawed by the scorpion. So if you're familiar with the Scorpion King of Egypt, that's where all this comes from as well. And so here the moon is now at the knee bowing. So a religion is the judge, having been born, and now a religion is bowing the knee for the judgment. One side of the court battle is losing. This moon does not indicate who is losing, because the moon is growing. So this is a new birth of a religion. So we already know it's going to be Jupiter who wins the court battle. And so there's the 31st, which is Friday. And it's at the head of Sagittarius, the battle. Centurion. Because as Jupiter is now setting in the morning rising of the sun, it is being replaced with the sun. And so the death of Jupiter is the birth of it as the sun. The father becomes the son becomes the father. But in this particular case, Jupiter has been in the night sky and is now finally ending his battle, as the moon is now the judge in the matter and is going to decide. And interestingly, it does not seem to be the case that it'll be by Saturn per se, because on the 1st of August, the moon is between Saturn and Jupiter, meaning the judgment is for Jupiter. The judge is Saturn, giving the judgment for Jupiter as confirmed by the moon. Now, last month, on the 5th of July, it was a full moon, which I was thinking was going to be in my favor. However, I didn't realize, as I didn't check, that it was a lunar eclipse on the 5th of July. And as a result, on that Monday, the 6th, or 6th of July, rather, there's also a lunar eclipse in June 5th and 6th. And so, yes, July 5th, there was the lunar eclipse, but it was a lunar eclipse, so I thought that I may have a chance of winning in the decision, but Judge Oberg, as I'm cheating and going ahead into the description, sided with the church, giving her recommendation and report to Judge Waddups. And so, yes, this does appear that it could be Judge Waddups who decides in my favor. However, you'll notice the date is August 1st. This is Saturday. And so, it could be that this is when I find out about it, but let's we need to go ahead. Yeah, the full moon is not until the 3rd. Has 14.4 days. We need to go. Second and third. Yeah. 14.8 days is the full moon. And As I showed you, it's in the belly of Copernicus. The goat beast. The full moon. Are you familiar with the story of Nineveh, Jonah and the whale? Jonah and the whale is referred to as a prophecy. And so there it is as the full moon on the 3rd of August. But, the official judgment is on, no, it's saying it's the 2nd. Interesting. Oops. As we go forward, oops. Guess it won't let me, so we gotta do it upside down here so that we can show you. As we go further into the afternoon, there at 4:14, it is right by Jupiter on August 1st. At 13 days old, Friday the 13th, although this is Saturday the 1st. York writes Friday the 13th, if you're familiar with that. Alrighty. And so this is the signs that are occurring this week. And so again, let me get off of this and discuss the court case. I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, this was it. Alright, I'm doing the video segment before I put them on the Movie Maker. I hope I don't put things out of order or leave things out. The lawsuit. I filed the lawsuit on the 30th of September 2019. Judge First was assigned to the case. She had been fired. And nonetheless, despite her recusals from other cases, because she had been fired, she was assigned to my case. The particular case she was recused from was Gaddy versus COP. You may have heard about that one. That one was popular and made the news, at least on social media. Gaddy's case is still pending. They're still battling it out as to whether the church can legitimately dismiss for failure to state a claim on which relief can be granted. That's their modus operandi. The church always files this, but they file on time. And so my case comes along. Judge First fired for allowing Gaddy versus COP to go through as legitimate. And so she's now assigned to my case against the COP. And so, yeah, she's clearly assigned to my case to shut me down. On November 1st, 2019, she holds a hearing with just me, says, you've got no claim on which a relief may be granted. She was going to dismiss my case as assigned. Quid pro quo. We will give you a case since you've been recused from everything, if you do us a favor though and dismiss it. And I dropped the bombshell in that hearing. The church has been paying the person who had me disappeared in 2008. Oh. You've got 30 days to file an amended complaint. The girls in the back auditorium were, and so yes, I refiled within 30 days. Failure to file within 30 days would have been cause for dismissal, unless I could show cause as to why I was late. But I filed on time, and it was approved, because there was no further hearing to say, no, this isn't right, we dismiss. You have to file a claim upon which request can be granted. I did that. I followed the instructions as the federal court gave them. Judge First, however, refused to do anything more with my case. She was silent the whole time, except when I pointed out, after the lawyers filed, they were abusing me. And so I sent notification to the judge and the lawyers that they were abusing me, and Judge First's website issued a parties will refrain from verbal abuse. So I know she was aware, she just wasn't doing anything, and I didn't understand why. I finally figured out and filed or summoned or served summons on the church on the 27th of February. I've done those videos on the playlist. And according to the law, I don't need to notify the courts. It's an automatic understood, the church got served, they have 30 days to file. And I notified them according to the rules for filing a waiver of summons. I did my part. The church lawyers, however, did not do their part. I never got my copy back. They were supposed to send me my copy back, claiming that they'd received it, and then notify the courts, we have received the complaint, and are responding to the complaint within 30 days. They failed to do that. Remember, I needed to file, according to the judge's order, within 30 days, the amended complaint. Otherwise, my case is dismissed for failure to file on time. The lawyers for the church failed to file on time. They filed 11 days late. But that was not the filing. They just gave their appearance in court. Hey, we're the lawyers for the church. We're now 11 days late. They didn't say that, but they were 11 days late. I win. Judge First remained silent. They then file 23rd. No. That if I think they appeared in the court on the 7th, and then on the 11th they filed their motion to dismiss. Something like that. They were 11 days late, so it must have been the motion to dismiss. And yes, for failing to claim for which relief is to be granted. That same modus operandi. The law around filing that way is granted, is allowed. It's a legitimate claim if it's legitimate. But that's why the district court here in Utah has magistrate judges, so that they can notify plaintiffs, hey, you don't have a claim upon which relief can be granted, as I was told on November 1st. But I was then said, okay, you do seem to have a claim, you've got 30 days to refile. it was approved. The church, despite that, said Judge First was wrong. There still is not a claim. Church is immune. And what that is abuse of the court system. It's contempt of court. Because the court already had a system in place to weed out those that fall under that category, of which the defense counsel would have justification to file. And I'd never received my copy of that either. The motion to dismiss was never served to me, but it's served to the clerks. The clerks were supposed to check to make sure that the certificate of service was filed with their motion to dismiss, with their response. Both of us are required to do that. I couldn't file my complaint without eventually having a service of process. The judge was supposed to grant the marshal service to deliver it. She didn't, so I eventually found the waiver of summons. So that was frustrating. But eventually I got it served, and the waiver of summons does not need to be notified to the courts. And that's what I didn't understand. Why is that not the case? But I still, nonetheless, notified the judge that such had been done, because I wanted some kind of a record to show that it had been done, and that I was planning on the deadline, if they refused to file, to submit notify the clerks of the default. The coronavirus hit, and the courts shut down. And I was like, oh, how do I file? Is the case on hold indefinitely until coronavirus is over with? Isn't that interesting timing? But the lawyers for the church didn't care. They went right to the courthouse and filed their motion late. But me, I don't have that luxury. I don't have transportation. I'm not easily accessible downtown to the courts, and so I had to try to figure out the email system. And it was shown that I'm supposed to be approved, and that I'm supposed to be assigned a code by which the email system can be accessed for my case. Not done. Because it's so frustrating, this whole thing. They are purposely preventing me from filing my First Amendment rights. Petition the government for a redress of grievances. I don't get a prosecuting attorney because all of them have refused, in violation of my First Amendment rights. So I had to do it pro se, all alone. And so the 14-day deadline is coming up after the church had filed with the court, and I don't have my copy. And so I finally file, and I email all involved, saying, hey, the deadline for me is almost up. I'm filing my counter reply based on the docket online. They're late. And so I file all those things. They're late. Judgment's supposed to be for me. Nothing. Judge First remains silent. Her end of term is over. The church, nonetheless, on that day receiving it, 2 days later actually, mailed it to me. And so I got it 2 extra days later on top of that because of the mail system, and because the defense, I guess, assumed that I was in the email system. I guess, I don't know. If I don't have the code, how would they have the code? So I don't understand that. But Judge First goes and ends, and and I finally get their thing, and let's see. I don't think I filed another reply. Maybe I did, having received it. But none of these are being put on the docket by the clerks. I followed the procedures from Judge First's website on her on the federal court court site, but the clerks aren't filing anything, and Judge First ends her job. And then on the 15th of May, a new judge is hired, and I find out about it by the online docket, because it's officially, she's assigned to my case. The first case she has, she's a brand new judge. She had been a federal public defender. And so I did research on her to find out about all this, and submitted to her the refiling, letting her know, hey, you're the new judge, here's the previous motions that have not been put in the docket by the clerks. This is so that you can get caught up and understand what's going on, just in case you weren't submitted the files from first as they were delivered to her. Judge Oberg came out and said, you're filing late, Travis, as the clerks finally put it in late, and disregarding that the defense had already filed late already. And so she was trying to give all these excuses as to why I'm supposed to be dismissed, but she's allowing me an extension of 2 weeks to file my counter reply, because she's so nice and good. So I do, and I slam her, and I slam the church, and I slam the court, the clerks, and I slam the defense lawyers, and then she comes out with nothing. Silence. Everybody's silent, because I put in, hey, you know what, there's a sign as the keystone at the arch of the doorway of the Salt Lake Temple, and that same symbol is on the Seagull Gate. Yeah, that shut everybody up. Holland gets sick, has to go to the hospital after being notified by the judges. They won't tell us that that's the reason, but they said it wasn't coronavirus. But the timing, yeah, Holland goes down, and everybody is silent. And then weeks go by, and so the 23rd of June, I believe it was, I then file a motion for a speedy process, because what's she doing? How long does it take for her to figure out that the defense was late and that I win? And so then she comes out on the 6th. And, I didn't show you that. Well, I couldn't. There was nothing to show, per se. The moon was by Saturn after the lunar eclipse. So it was now a waning moon. So, yeah, this one's a waxing moon. The other one was a waning moon with an eclipse that accompanied it. And yeah, she came out with a report and recommendation that I am to not receive justice. I am not to be able to petition for a redress of grievances against the church for any of my claims ever, with prejudice. That the church will be able to get away with what they did to me, locking me up for 6 years of my life, paying the person who officially locked me up, paying the person. I got them. I followed the money, caught them, And then I caught them trying to cover it up. And they're going to get away with it. That's Judge Oberg's recommendation, that the church be allowed to get away with what they did to me. The torture for those 6 years. The taking away of my agency of life, liberty, and property. Property gone. Parents justified themselves in throwing away everything of mine. I've lost my kids permanently. And the church is going to get away with it if Judge Waddups allows it. Because that's who's in charge now. Judge Waddups, Mormon. And so I gave my objection as required, because it was asked, that if I didn't file the objection, that therefore it's like I'm agreeing to it. You have to file on time, otherwise it shows you're agreeing. Church failed to file on time, which means they agree to my complaint, which means I win. And I was supposed to get the request for relief. They accepted my claims because they filed late. And yet here they show up late with their typical MO, claiming, oh, no, we don't actually agree to the claims. But they don't go over each and every single one. They just generalize it and say, nope, all things frivolous. There is no claim here. It's not against us. And so yes, in my objection, I showed just one example, the very first claim. The church claims they are the true church. The United States court has already determined they are not. The church is lying. As a Mormon, they are lying. That's setting up the whole claim. That's part of it. And so, yeah, the churches, the lawyers are making the claim that there is no claim because the laws of the land don't count. Everything was under RICO conspiracy. And so everybody who helps the church during all this time, and that involves YouTube employees, that involves Google employees, that involves my website employees, everyone, Microsoft, everyone, the bishop, the stake president, the landlord, Percy, everyone's involved. So when the landlord tried to have me evicted, she is interfering, tampering with a federal case, federal lawsuit. That is a crime for which she is supposed to be punished. She was not fired from her job. She's still my landlord. In November, my lease is up again. It's supposed to be February, but she comes in November. She's trying to claim, oh, it takes that long to... No, it doesn't. The previous person that we originally had, she came in January. And it was November because of the marriage that I had. So anyway. So yes, I'm going to have to deal with her if I lose. But YouTube already is causing me grief during this whole time. They will shut me down. Internet service. Oh, gee, we're having complications? Oh, that's too bad. Oh, you're paying us as an internet customer? Oh, I don't know what's wrong. Maybe you should try coming in and get another server. Maybe that will fix it. Oh, it's still not working? I don't know, get another server. See if that fixes it. We'll try to do a system check. Yeah, they'll just keep BSing me the whole time. We can't figure out what's wrong. I guess we can't help you. You'll just have to settle for what you get. But keep paying us, as we're charging you an extra $20 for this month of August. The church owns everything. They invest in everything. I lose, my life is over. Because everybody will be on full retaliation. I've already been notified that I will be retaliated against when this case is over and I lose. Percy will be coming back. He will be on full retaliation. They have already indicated they will be having me disappeared again, if not evicted. The landlord will be justified in evicting me now. She's full Nazi mode. She's been that way since she got hired. She's a white supremacist. Her manner of speech is white supremacist. Her actions have been white supremacist. And they won't fire her. And if you think white supremacy only goes after blacks and those of color, you've got another thing coming. They go after the poor. They go after women. And they can be white. This is the dilemma I'm faced with. If and I lose. And the church is already expecting me to lose. As you can see from their actions, they've opened up the church. They've got everybody getting exposed to coronavirus. They've got Governor Herbert denying that we're supposed to be red. If today's numbers are 10.4%, we'll be in red. Otherwise, we'll be in orange. That's where we are. But Herbert claims that West Valley City is yellow. He will not take us back to orange. He will not take us back to red. And we never were red. We're red. Over 10% for a week is red. 2 weeks ago, we were red. The White House knew we were red. It got leaked that Utah was among 18 states that are red. But Herbert called us yellow and green for this whole state. He is purposely doing the worst case that you could do in fixing coronavirus, relieving coronavirus. And that's having individual cities and counties do their own thing. That slows down the time from which coronavirus drops. If you want coronavirus to drop, the whole state, even those that don't have outbreaks, must all shut down. Everybody sent home, locked at home. This is a virus. This is like war, but it's not against people that we can see, so that we know whether it's safe to go out on the streets or not. It is not safe because we cannot see the coronavirus enemy. That's why medical doctors have said, in order to get this under control, we need everybody home. And if you got it, you think you got it, call us. You can come in for testing. If you've got it, you're supposed to be quarantined at the hospital. It's only supposed to take 2 hours. You're supposed to wait at the hospital for the test results. If you test positive, you've got to be quarantined in the hospital. Doesn't matter if you don't show symptoms, because you're a carrier. You will spread it. Herbert has not done this. There are over 10,000 Utahns who have been sent home because they didn't show severe symptoms requiring the respiratory system. And as a result, the virus has spread in Utah as we are red. Herbert has purposely caused this, just as Trump caused it for our nation. And Nelson denied science and said, hey, let's hold a fast. Remember, pay your fast offerings. Church needs money, because we're not getting money if we shut down. So yeah, the church is back up in operation now, because Herbert took us to yellow. People are going back and socializing at church. People are going to the temples. People are going back on missions. They're socializing. We're red. People have the virus and they're spreading it. When we're red, we're supposed to be locked down. And that was used also in my lawsuit, because it's a threat to my life during this lawsuit. It's tampering with the case. And so Herbert got indicted. That's the seriousness that the church is in. They lost because they were late. They lost because they didn't have a justifiable cause to claim that I didn't have a claim upon which relief is granted. It was already vetted. And so they have no claim. They confess, I win. And then the judges, Judge First, Judge Oberg, and the clerks all tamper with this case. Again, getting the church in trouble, because this is a RICO conspiracy. Anybody who helps the church gets them in trouble. Governor Herbert gets them in trouble. Everybody got them in trouble. The landlord, Percy, got them in trouble. The death threats to me got them in trouble. I win. Over and over and over again. But now it's in Waddup's hands. And so, like I said, is it going to be by Judge Waddup's that I win, or will it be by some other way? The some other way for the Jews with the Temple of Jerusalem, as is the anniversary Thursday, was that the enemy comes in and destroys the temple and took them hostage, scattering them. Is that what's going to happen for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Will I win and get the request for relief that I asked for? Or does the church win, and therefore another method destroys the church instead? Destroying the temple of Salt Lake, because it is needing to be set in order, because it's the doctrine of Lucifer, as symbolized as the keystone of the arch of the doorway of the Salt Lake Temple. And for that, we have to wait. There are some signs that occur on the day of the event, or the event occurs on the day of the sign. There have been other events that are a process, like the eclipses. The start, August 21st, 2017, goes until April 2024. So that's a process of events during that time period. Just like in 2014, the third of the tetrad to the fourth of the tetrad, the lunar eclipses, 3 apostles died. And so they didn't happen on the day of the sign. They happened during a process period. And so some signs are not fulfilled on the day. They are a process sign. And that is a distinct difference that I have learned. The 6th of July, when Oberg gave her report and recommendation, occurred on the day of the sign. Will that be the same case for Judge Waddups? Will Friday or Thursday be his final decision, which, according to the signs in the heavens, is in favor of me? We won't know until the people on earth fulfill the signs in the heavens. So, we'll see. Again, I'm still concerned as to whether I'm going to have to fulfill the Lehi version, have a dream saying, they want you dead, you need to leave. Or if it's going to be the Joseph Smith Section 103 version of a man like Moses will lead Mormons to restore Zion. And then will be the place of refuge and safety for all the people in the world who don't want to fight. We won't know until it happens. Or the other scenario, I witnessed the entire destruction of the American people and the world. So again, we have to wait. And this is the closest I've come to telling you who I am. Because I've not been telling you. Until it happens, I'm not the guy. It's that simple. That's why I won't tell anybody. Everybody needs to search the scriptures, to learn of the prophecies, and to see for themselves if I match those prophecies as a checklist. That's why I did the playlist. Who is the man like Moses? And I went over who doesn't fit the prophecies. But then have been doing videos in that playlist of where I fit the prophecies. And so that's why Mormons can't watch this, is because they won't believe. They'll just consider me a false prophet, false Messiah, false Christ, an anti-Mormon, an antichrist, etc., etc. Those are hate words. And there is no place for hate. By my fruits ye shall know me. By Brian David Mitchell, he claimed to be the Messiah. By his fruits we know him to be a false Messiah. You don't kidnap 14-year-old girls, rape them, and hold them hostage. That automatically disqualified him, let alone all the other prophecies in Scripture. By their fruits ye shall know them. By their fruits I know the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are false. They aren't fitting the prophecy for the man who is to be the Christ, and they aren't Christ-like either. They are antichrist. They are false, as they practice priestcraft, in denying the welfare of Zion, as they have trillions of dollars in liquid assets. And then they have real estate and other assets on top of that. So that's it. That's the significance of 9/11 this week. I covered everything: Mountain Meadows Massacre, End of the World, signs, case, Noah, Moses, Lehi, Flee to Zion or Fight for Survival, Apocalyptic Literature, Field of Reeds, Alma, Amulek. Oh yeah, that's misinterpreting section 43. That's not really needed. But yeah, Alma would only preach the words of Abinadi. He was able to baptize, but he would not be the king of them, because he would not be a prophet either. Alrighty. Yeah, did I turn on the volume? Oh, I may not have. Oh man. I hope that's not the case.